Hello friends, I am Dipankar Vasu from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Guwahati, and I am here to give you a little bit of introduction to the MOOCs course that I am going to float in the coming semester, that is in January to April 2019 session, which is entitled The Principles of Mechanical Measurement. Now, some details about the course you may have already see on the course web page, which is just adjacent to this video screen. The course content is also there. From there you must have seen that the proposed one is a 12-week course, that is we are going to have 12 sets of lectures. The entire course content accordingly has been divided into 12 modules or chapters, and in each week we are going to cover one module. Some of the modules may take 4 lectures, some of them may take 3 or some may just 2. So, accordingly we are going to have some 30 to 35 number of lectures to cover the entire course content. We have decided to go for some kind of logical sequencing of the course content, and the details of each of the modules you can already see on the adjacent screen. Information about the grading policies and assignments etc., those are also there. So, there is no point for me to repeat those things, rather I shall briefly be talking about the content of this course, that is the details of each of those modules. But before that I must tell you something why you need to do this course, or what is at all the need of having a course on the mechanical measurement. Now, measurement is the very essence of science, because unless we can't measure something, we can't get proper idea about that, and no way we can reproduce that particular thing. See, whatever is happening around us, anything that is happening somewhere around us, or we heard about this, that always raises to some kind of question in our inquisitive mind, that why it is happening, or exactly what are the reasons behind this particular phenomenon. And to respond to that question, we need to measure some relevant parameters. Like say for example, okay, I can take a very random example. For hundreds and thousands of years, people have seen that rise and fall in ocean water level, something we call the high tide and low tide, and that have raised questions in our mind, that is we kept on asking ourselves why that is happening. And to respond to that question, the first thing that we have to answer, is there any kind of pattern in that particular phenomenon. So, we started timekeeping about that phenomenon, exactly when there is a rise in the water level, exactly when there is a fall in the water level, and after continuing the timekeeping for a few days, maybe a few months, maybe over a year, we can see yes, there is a clear pattern. So, there is a particular time of the day when that is happening, or I should say twice the water level is rising and twice the water level is falling, and there is also a particular pattern when that particular thing is happening. So, if we follow that timekeeping chart, we can actually predict the next day when the high tide is going to come and when the low tide is going to come. So, the timekeeping was the first set of measurement that we did to understand, or at least to get some kind of idea about that high tide and low tide, and then we kept on searching for answers now why that is happening. And then several theories are proposed, and we carried on to from simpler topics or from simpler ideas to much more advanced topics. Later on came the theory of gravitation, and now we know that standing in this 21st century, we clearly know that it is happening because of the gravitational attraction of sun and moon on the loose water surface, or I should say on the free surface of water. But if we go back a few hundred years, then this particular or answer to this particular question was not that much apparent. We will have to find the answer, and that was possible only when we went for some kind of sequential measurement about relevant parameters of the phenomenon. Relevant parameters like the time it is happening, the change in the elevation level of the water surface, and something or all such several parameters. So, the measurement is something that is very very essential if we want to design something, if we want to learn about something, and that is why this particular topic of measurement, though I am proposing the course title as mechanical measurement, however, it is very much relevant to any kind of science and technological fields of studies. Though we are going to restrict ourselves more to the measurement of mechanical parameters. Now, you can quickly take a look at the course content and the details of the 12 modules. So, the first week we are going to talk about the introductory topics only, that is we are going to introduce you to the significance of measurements and basic terminologies, the process of calibration. You will be learning about different characteristics, that is the static and dynamic characteristics of measurement systems, and particularly you are going to talk about the error analysis, what are the different kinds of errors, that is the precision errors and several other kinds of errors which may possibly appear during a particular measurement, and how to get rid of those errors or at least try to minimize their effects on the final result. Second week, you are going to talk about the characterizing or dynamic characterizing of the measurement systems in terms of their responses, particularly the dynamic or transient responses. You will be introduced to a general mathematical structure from where we shall be trying to identify the characteristics of zeroth, first and second order systems and their response to some kind of standard inputs. So, in the third week, we are going to talk about something very favorite to me, which is the application of digital techniques to measurement, because nowadays most of the equipments or measuring tools that we use, they are digital in nature. Even very common measuring instruments, say a medical thermometer, something which used to measure the body temperature. Earlier days or even now also, most of the thermometers are just mercury in glass thermometer, where we can see the movement of the mercury column inside a capillary tube, and then we can try to identify the position of the tip of that column in relation with the scale that is inscribed on the surface of that glass tube or capillary tube and get the temperature reading. But even digital version of that is also available, where we have just a screen attached to this and the final temperature value is directly displayed on that. So, as more and more we are looking into such kind of digitalization, it is very important you know the fundamentals of this, and therefore, without requiring any kind of electronics fundamental knowledge, we shall be discussing about the topic of digitalization and analog to digital conversion or digital to analog conversion. In week number 4, we shall be talking about the data processing in terms of analog and digital counters, little bit about image processing. So, this first 4 weeks are going to prepare us about all the introductory steps that we need to know before we can go for the measurement of any physical quantity. So, in week number 5, we are going to learn about possible instruments or some of the common instruments which we use for the measurement of displacement or distance, that is parameters which are having a dimension of length. Next week, we are going to talk about the measurement of stress and strain. Strain is also something having a dimension of length, or I should say strain is dimensionless parameter, but it is measured as the change in length with respect to a given length, and so the strain measurement is somewhat relevant to length scale as well. In the next week, we shall be talking about the force measurement. You know, stress is force per unit area, and so after stress we should talk about force measurement only. So, in week number 7, we shall be having force and torque measurement. Then force per unit area can also be pressure, and therefore, week number 8 we are going to talk about the pressure measurement, then the measurement of flow, then temperature measurement. So, this flow, pressure and temperature, all these topics are more relevant to fluid mechanics. So, some fundamental fluid mechanics knowledge will be utilized here, and also the knowledge of heat transfer. Then in week number 11, we shall be talking about the measurement of velocity and acceleration related parameters, and week number 12 is more a free discussion, where we shall be talking about a few scattered methods, like the ways of getting some kind of acoustic measurements, how to get idea about radiation, pollution related parameters, etc. Let us see what we can discuss in week number 12. So, as I have told, some of these modules may require 4 lectures, whereas some can be completed in 3. Like I feel in the first week itself we may be needing 4 lectures, because there are several introductory topics that we have to be talking about, whereas later modules like the measurement of stress or force, those can be completed much quickly, maybe even in 2 lectures. Let us see how we can proceed. This course requires knowledge only about fundamental engineering subjects like engineering mechanics, little bit about thermodynamics and fluid mechanics, and I am sure all of you already have that background. So, anyone who has completed first 2 years of engineering should find this course interesting and relevant, and of course, one handicap that we have here is we are not going to interact in an open classroom where I can have the option, or I can avail the option of directly responding to your queries. My medium of communicating with you is only this camera, but I shall be happy to get any kind of query from you either directly through mail or through the concerned web portal, and I shall be trying my best to respond to each of your queries at the earliest. My TAs also will be there to help you out. So, whenever you are having some query related to some of the topics discussed in this course, do not hesitate to write to me, and I shall be trying my best in whatever way I can to alleviate your doubts or to make those things clarified to you. I hope I am going to get a good response from your side, because ultimately this course is only for you and your participation is the one that is going to make it successful. Let us see how it goes. It is still about a month before the final lectures or the first week of lectures will be released to your site. Before that, you can register for it using the corresponding button on the course web page, and I shall be happy to interact with you from the very onset. So, thank you very much. Hope to see you during the class hours.